Hi, I'm Greg Hunter, and this is the weekly news wrap-up for Friday, September 2nd, 2011. Irene, big story, big storm. People in the Northeast are still without water and power in some places. Overhyped in some areas, like New York City, kind of other places, like Vermont, they have severe flooding, extreme flooding, and property loss up in Vermont. The storm cost several $1 billion in damages. And this was a story, no question about it. Hyped, overhyped, underhyped, whatever you want to call it. But I find it strange that all hands on deck for mainstream media on a story that causes $7 billion in damages, and yet hardly a mention about the recent report from the Government Accounting Office about the $16 trillion spent by the Federal Reserve to bail out the world and the $5 trillion alone for foreign banks. I mean, okay, Hurricane Irene, a story. $16 trillion in bailout, not a story? $5 trillion to foreign banks, not a story? Really unbelievable. Gaddafi, he's been on the run. He's still in the country reportedly, and I find this kind of odd. Parts of his family have been ferried out to places like Algeria, but he reportedly is still in the country, and rebels are closing in. They're giving him a week to surrender. Well, that's not the big story. I think the big story is the Al-Qaeda Islamists, Muslim Brotherhood connection, extreme Muslims. And I got to tell you, I'm asking this question again. Did NATO, we, United States as NATO, did we give, the Muslim Brotherhood, Islamist, Al-Qaeda, did we give that group, do we give terrorists a country? Again, here's another story in USA Today yesterday, Islamists' evolving role in Libya. 1 out of 5 is in the ruling party, the Transitional National Council. 1 in 5 are Islamists, let's call them Al-Qaeda, Muslim Brotherhood. Why did we decide to give these people a country, or at least a role in the country? I don't think they're just going to go away after spilling their blood. They're going to want some control. And especially for a country that produces 2% of the world's oil, Libya. This is going to come back to bite us in the tail, mark my words. Next up, Obama. He's going to have an economic or job speech coming up. And the first thing is they couldn't even agree on the dates. I mean, Speaker of the House John Boehner said, you can't do it September 7th. We got to move that to September 8th. Other people are saying, whoa, hey, that's the kickoff of the NFL football season. What? We got 20 to 30 million people unemployed. We have, 22.7, almost 23% of the nation. 1 in 5 are unemployed. People are worried about Obama's speech interfering with the kickoff of the NFL season? Grow up? Some of the details of Obama's plan have leaked out, and it's things like extending the payroll tax cut for employees and then extending that for employers. That's $200 billion. Another idea floated out there is that to sink money into schools. They need $275 billion in repairs. $275 billion in repairs? I mean, is every school dilapidated and falling down in the country? And this is going to spur the economy? Painting schools and putting in new windows? There's also an infrastructure bank, and that's another $50 billion. And that's kind of like the Fannie Freddie model where you give them the full faith and credit to borrow money, and then when it blows up, you treat them like Fannie and Freddie. That's another $50 billion. Weren't we supposed to be trying to cut our debt? Weren't we supposed to be trying to save some money? Are we spending money to save money? We're going to be $16.7 trillion at the end of 2012. I don't get it. I really don't get it. It doesn't sound to me like a plan that's going to cut unemployment. And incidentally, Jay Carney was talking about how if all this stuff is, we get all of the stuff we want, we could maybe drop the unemployment rate to 9%. Of course, that's a fantasy rate. It's closer to 23%. According to John Williams at shadowstats.com. Finally, Lawrence Kotlikoff, the high-powered Boston University economics professor. Last year he was out and he said America was broke. We're beyond broke. And he said that the entitlement programs that we have are like, quote, massive Ponzi schemes. Well, now he's done some more figuring, and we've gone another $9 trillion into debt. Last year in August, we were at 202 trillion into debt. Now we're $211 trillion in debt. If you count everything, Fannie, Freddie, Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, everything, the whole pie, nothing off budget, $211 trillion. My prediction, we will never pay that tab in anything that resembles the buying power of the U.S. dollar today. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USAWatchdog.com.